Welcome to the news in details now. A project has begun in Rwanda to use dogs to identify people infected with COVID-19. Now, the research gives confidence that the COVID carriers will be identified in minutes, helping to defeat the virus faster.
A detection dog training system is being used and has first been installed at the Kigali International Airport as a start, with the method having been found to have a 94% accuracy rate. It is not all that different from the way we use specialized machines when testing, and this is far cheaper and faster. We are the first to use this method on the continent, which is good for research. If you have, say, 10,000 people going to a stadium for a game, how long do you think it would take doctors to test all those people? These dogs can test 200 people per minute under the right circumstances. Obviously, no lab can take tests at that pace. The dogs can also be trained to detect other illnesses. It is clear that after being trained, the dogs can test for other conditions like diabetes, TB, and viruses that cause other illnesses. The project is a joint venture between Rwanda and Germany.
We started this project together with RBC, the Ministry of Health, and also with the Rwanda National Police and the airport, because we believe that it's very important to fight COVID together, to fight the spread of COVID, and also to actually cooperate. Results from Rwanda will help our own researchers in Germany, in Hanover, to develop their own study further. And also, I think at the end of the day, it's a global world, and if we are doing this together, the more information we have, the better, the faster we can get together.
It is believed that the project can help the country to return to its regular activities faster. This is the reason we want this testing method to be used in other parts of the country as well, where possible. Being able to test people when entering markets, stadiums, and other venues can help us to return to normalcy far more easily. The project is worth 30,000 euros and its trial period will run for 30 days.
Rwanda's Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente has noted that Rwanda's policies over the past 20 years have helped foreign investment increase substantially. Now, the Prime Minister made the comments while speaking at the ongoing 24th St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in Russia.
Over the last 2 decades, Rwanda has sustained its economic growth at an average of 8% annually. Its GDP per capita has more than tripled from the year 2000 to date. We have also created a conducive business environment by adopting business-friendly approaches and eased the bureaucratic processes. Rwanda's ability to attract more FDIs is also a reflection of tireless effort to improve the ease of doing business, where for the last 3 consecutive years, the country has ranked second on the African continent. Cooperation between Rwanda and the Russian Federation has focused mainly on scientific development in health, agriculture, mining, energy, water, and education, among others. There is a need to scale up Russia's investments in these and other areas of infrastructure as well.
The elderly are grateful that after many years of demanding for their own special policy, the government has granted it. They also request that it gets implemented as soon as possible with the government's involvement. Cabinet meeting this week approved the elderly policy, which aims to improve the well-being both medically and in setting up specialized agencies to look after them on a day-to-day basis. The elderly say they are grateful for the establishment of the policy, but demand that it starts being implemented. We are very happy. because our wish was granted, but we also request that it gets implemented as soon as possible. Some of the issues that are expected to be addressed by this policy include those related to the welfare of the elderly. The CEO of the non-governmental organization for the protection of the rights and social welfare of the elderly, called Sanganira, Elia Mugaweyishema, is one of the longest-serving members for nearly 4 years that demanded for this policy to be established. The first thing we asked for was a policy to provide them with better health services. We wanted this policy to start from the local authorities to the national level. When we look at it economically, an investor would not meet the elderly because even in writing, the youth and the women would be top of their list. The investor would not be led to the elderly for various reasons, and this would be a discouragement. The elderly, however, say there is still much more to be done, as there are policies that were put in place but have not been implemented over the years. I think the Ministry of Local Government says they will look into and implement them faster. First of all, they are happy that they have a government that loves them, and they are happy that they now have their own special policy, and we will work with them to implement it in order to promote them. The policy of the elderly is one that provides a broad outline for all stakeholder initiatives aimed at helping the elderly and outline the institutions that should be involved in its implementation, including health, justice, and the elderly themselves. The national statistics of Rwanda, based on the results of the 2012 census, estimates that by 2021, there will be about 450,000 people over the age of 65 in Rwanda. Of these, men will be about 185,000 and the number of women will be more than 267,000. This will bring the population of the country to 13 million by the end of this year. Now, industrialization and vehicle emissions continue to contribute to the deterioration of the ozone layer. Now, in Rwanda, vehicle emissions contribute to approximately 50% of air pollution. In alignment with the government's objective to promote greener environment and mobility, Rwanda continues to promote the adoption of electric vehicles.
There is no doubt that vehicles play a major role towards air pollution. According to the current statistics from REMA, vehicles contribute 50% to air pollution in Rwanda. Dr. Ejid Kalisa, a researcher and lecturer at the university, explains that reducing vehicular emissions will have a major effect on the economy as well as the health sector.
The reduction of air pollution by at least 20% in the morning during traffic jams will be vital, because it could save around $17 million that people spend going to the doctor for respiratory illnesses and other related complications.
As Rwanda continues to promote green environment and mobility, Rwanda aims to slowly phase out fuel-operating vehicles to electric vehicles. Greenleaf Autofast Rwanda Limited, on Friday in partnership with IHS Rwanda, launched a fleet of 11 Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid vehicles, aligning with the government's ambitions to promote green environment and mobility. The Greenleaf Managing Director, Joshua Nshuti, says government incentives on the electric vehicles will increase the number of vehicles in the country.
If they want any incentives on this car, we should be talking anywhere around 75 to 80 million for this car. But because of the initiative of government and the continued support, this vehicle will go anywhere between 55 to 60 million to be delivered, together with the charger and maintenance for over 4 years. So as an organization, we are excited because the government is looking at cutting the taxes for this vehicle to make it more affordable for everybody in the market.
The country representative in Rwanda at Global Green Growth Institution commends Rwanda for leading the way towards living green.
I'm really happy that the private sector is setting the pace, so you will now see more interest. But most importantly, we will be even happy to see the effect when it comes to our lives, our health, air pollution, in regards to resource efficiency.
The introduction of Mitsubishi SUV into Rwanda has been a product of extensive work with engineers and partners at the Mitsubishi factory in Japan. The ambassador of Japan to Rwanda, Imai Masahiro, says that the adoption of the electric cars will greatly benefit the economy in various ways.
As a country, in using electric vehicles in Rwanda, firstly, it contributes to the greener environment, but also, more importantly, it contributes to the economy of Rwanda, because you can save money to import oil, petroleum, while you can produce by yourself electricity.
According to Rwanda's Climate Action Plan, Rwanda hopes to reduce 38% of their emissions by 2030. During the P4G meeting, held for leaders committed to Sustainable Development Goals and Green Growth that was held on May 30th, 2021, His Excellency President Paul Kagame noted that in line with the fight towards reduction of emissions in the world, Rwanda aims to use electric cars.
The world is on a path to decarbonization. This implies significant changes to energy policies, particularly around coal and other fossil fuels. But these energy sources won't disappear overnight. For some developing countries, fossil fuels will remain an important part of the energy mix. However, we can focus on development finance to speed up the transition to renewable energy through investments in new technologies and distribution networks. Rwanda, for example, has decided to embark on a shift to electric vehicles in the coming years. Rwanda is also committed to upgrading. Rwanda, for example, has decided to embark on a shift to electric vehicles in the coming years. Rwanda is also committed to upgrading to clean cooling technologies, in line with the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol.
Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV uses batteries that can fully charge after 4 hours. When fully charged, it can run for 70 kilometers straight. This vehicle also has the ability to use diesel or petrol or to charge the existing battery. It is the first time this vehicle is being used in Africa. Gabi Movonyi for RTV.
Thank you, Gabby, for that report. Now, the Ministry of Environment has announced that before the year ends, operations will begin to recycle single-use plastics. Take a look. Across the country, there are various landfill sites, with 70% being decomposed waste, and the rest is plastic waste, which do cause harm to the environment as it prevents water from entering the soil. Those in the private sector say that the process of purchasing plastic waste and turning it into useful materials is expensive, hence they have turned to the business of turning decomposed waste into manure.
What we are lacking is the financial capacity, because we had invested a lot of money, but because of COVID-19, we didn't get the money we were expecting. Hence, we were not able to establish a factory that will be turning all the waste in Musanze district into useful material.
The Rwanda Environment Management Authority and the Private Sector Federation have signed an agreement in cooperation in environmental protection as they established a sustainable single-use plastics project. For the 5 years, the focus will be on collecting, transporting and buying plastic waste. The chairman of the Rwanda Private Sector Federation, Robert Bafakulera, emphasizes that the private sector is ready to contribute to this initiative as they have already raised 690 million Rwandan francs, with more to be added on.
The plastics are used for different purposes by many people. So there's need for more investment so that the process can be implemented successfully, as some investors have already invested their money. Those ventures will result in profits because everything will be made out of plastic waste, which will be sold as goods, hence it's business.
The plastic waste will be bought, and the Minister of Environment, Dr. Mujawamariya Jean d'Arc, says this is in line with protecting the environment. We encourage young children to collect as much plastic waste from their homes and in surrounding areas as they can, even on their way from school, and take them to collection points. That way they will not only be making money, but also conserving the environment, because plastic waste can be very harmful to the soil. This project is starting soon, during these 6 months remaining, before the year ends. As today, June 5th, marks the World Environment Day, it is being celebrated along with Biodiversity Day, which is usually celebrated on May 22nd. The goal this year is to restore the ecosystem, which is normally affected by various human activities. Ruavu is considered a gateway for tourism and trade, but the district's economy has been heavily affected by the recent eruption of the Nyiragongo volcano, in addition to the COVID-19 pandemic. Several of the commercial buildings in Gisenyi town, residents' home and various infrastructure were also terribly damaged by the tremors that followed the eruption. In the face of these challenges, local residents have been asking for cross-border trade to resume because the border with the DRC has remained closed to some. Government officials have assured the residents that these and other issues are being discussed as the district slowly returns to normalcy. The Ruavu cross-border market was built at a cost of more than 2 billion Rwandan francs, yet 192 of its stalls remain empty, and the number of people who cross to and from the DRC has remained only a fraction of what it used to be. Moving on to the government of Rwanda, and the African Development Bank has signed an agreement worth $84.2 million to be used to support the distribution of electricity in various parts of the country. Now, the agreement was signed by the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. RwandaTV, while on behalf of the African Development Bank, the agreement was signed by its representative in Rwanda, Asia Toure. Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Dr. RwandaTV, said the project would help lay out 595 kilometers of medium or low voltage power lines and 1,620 kilometers of low voltage power lines in Gisagara, Huye, Nyamagabe, Nyanza, Nyaruguru, and Ruhango. The minister emphasized that the number of households with electricity has reached 63%, with the aim of reaching 100% by 2024, costing more than 670 billion Rwandan francs. Ms. Toure says the money provided by African Development Bank will also help expand the capacity of some of the lower-end wires to a minimum capacity of more than 1,720 kilometers. 20 prison guards completed training which will enable them to pursue a career in peacekeeping operations. It was a workshop organized by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research that had been underway for 2 weeks. Omari Jade has more on this report.
The guards were trained at a Rwanda Correctional Service facility in Rwamagana district of the Eastern Province. The trained guards will be able to train others. They may be sent on peacekeeping missions, in which they may also serve as advisors in prisons in those countries.
As prison guards, the way we will advise officials in those countries on how to improve their prisons will especially focus on the rights of detainees, and also by following international guidelines on the proper way of treating inmates.
A member of the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITAR, says UNITAR's training is different from the regular training for prison guards.
We transfer the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes that they have to the environment of a peace operation, which is substantially different to the national service. Also because in a peace operation they will not necessarily have an executive mandate, so they will be there more in support of the national authorities, mentoring, advising the national authorities. And these are all skills that needs to be learned. And so we read the national authorities. And these are all skills that needs to be learned.
The Commissioner General of the Rwanda Correctional Services notes that the training will help the guards fulfill their responsibilities as they are needed for peacekeeping missions around the world.
All of the guards we have been sending on peacekeeping missions have been performing well, which is why they continue to ask us for large numbers, and we currently have some preparing to go to the Central African Republic. We do not want them to backslide in their performance and instead want those who replace their comrades to have even greater skills. This training is helping to build up that knowledge and skills, and these guards will also be training their peers in the daily work we do.
136 prison guards have already gone on peacekeeping missions in Haiti, Ivory Coast, Central African Republic, Liberia, Sudan, and South Sudan. Currently, Rwandan prison guards are in the Central African Republic, Sudan, and South Sudan. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
Well, there you have it. On behalf of the entire news production team, thank you for staying with us. I'm Jane Mutoni. Have yourselves a great weekend.